Alright, so a couple more tips for you. Let's say I'm trying to graph a full circle. So draw F and then the equation of your circle. So I've entered my equation of a circle with a radius of 25, and it's shifted to the right 25 and shifted up 25. So let's say I'm trying to do a full circle and I hit enter and I graph it. You're only going to see the top half of that circle because we are entering these things as functions, which means we've solved them for y, which means we have square roots in them. So in order to graph the bottom half as well, I have to do a second draw function, and I have to tell it specifically to now graph the negative version of that square root. So notice I put a minus sign in front of the square root. A negative sign in front of the square root. Not a minus, a negative sign. Sorry about that. Negative square root. And now type the whole thing. 25 squared minus parentheses x minus 25 parentheses squared parentheses plus 25 parentheses. Now it's the exact same thing except it has a negative in front of the square root instead of a positive in front of the square root. So when I graph it, it's going to graph that positive one, and then it's going to graph that negative one below it, and you're like, oh, crud. This does not look good, because your calculator is really bad at graphing vertical things from a function, and this is almost vertical at that spot. So to fix that, you would need to fill that in with a line. So you'd have to figure out where is that x value approximately. And to do that, you can use your cursor. So move your cursor over there. Figure out where is that roughly. So it looks like maybe about there would be a good x value and y value. So x is 0.9, y is 28. And then approximate, maybe x needs to be to the left a little bit more. So maybe it's more like 0.18 or 0.2. Maybe we'll try 0.2 for our x value. And then find the other y value, and it looks like maybe it's like 21. So we need to tell our calculator now to graph a line. So I'm going to go second program to get the draw stuff. I want to draw a line, and I'm going to tell it the coordinates of the point I just found. I found 0.2 is the x value, comma, 28 was the y value, comma, next thing was same x value, 0.2, comma, different y value, 21. Let's graph this line. Hopefully it will fix that bad looking thing. So now I see that line, it kind of filled it in for me. Then I see the bottom half coming down. So you totally will need to fill in those gaps with lines. You can make it look pretty good by doing so and get a pretty nice full circle. Alright, so let's say I realize there's a line there and I don't want to wait for it to graph the rest of my program, but I want to figure out where that line is. I could hit on to break it right now and then quit instead of go to. There's not an error, but quit out and then go back into your graph, and now without it graphing the rest of the stuff, I can figure out roughly where that point is. I can use my crosshair now to figure it out, to approximate that. So if you look, I used a line on the left to fill it in. I used a line on the right to fill it in as well, but like me, that looks kind of bulbous and weird to me, so I'm going to shift that x value over just a super tiny bit and hopefully make it look a little bit better, but that's because I'm kind of OCD about this. And just by fiddling with those numbers a little bit, I was able to make that line look a lot better, I think. You have to decide how meticulous you want to be with what you end up with. So the last thing I want to show you is, like, let's say I want to take the top half of the circle, but I don't want to show it over specific parts. So I'm going to do a domain restriction. So I'm going to divide by an inequality, but I want to show you that you can do multiple inequalities at once. Okay, so notice here I've done an x is greater than or equal to 10 and x is less than or equal to 20, so that's one restriction between 10 and 20, or the other restriction between 30 and 40 is only going to show me specific pieces. So let's take a look at what this gives us real quick. And the video is going to run out in 10 seconds, so I hope it'll graph it in time. Notice it gives me just part of that circle based off those restrictions. I hope that made sense. 3, 2, 1, goodbye.